Once upon a time, there was a little girl who wanted to play some music. And she said to her mummy and daddy, "Mummy, Daddy, can you teach me how to play some music?" Well, Daddy didn't know what to play, and he couldn't play any music anyways. And Mummy could play the piano a little bit, but the house didn't have a piano. So both Mummy and Daddy said, "Well, what do you want to play?" And the little girl didn't really know what she wanted to play, but she wanted to play some music really, really beautifully so that everybody could listen. What she wanted is, she wanted to have a big concert where she was on the stage and everybody would come and listen to her play. But she didn't know what to play. There were so many things she could play, like a piano, a violin, harmonica, recorder, and drums, and all sorts of things, and even a guitar. Well, her mummy and daddy were not very musical, so they couldn't help her. And so they both sat for days and days and days. Not really days and days and days, but every day for a long time. They kept thinking, what musical instrument can I play? Said Mummy, how about a didgeridoo? No, don't think so. How about an accordion? Said Daddy. No, that's too big. How about a guitar? Well, my fingers are a bit weak at the moment. Well, I know, said Mummy. How about a melodeon? A melodeon? What's that? What? You've never heard of a melodeon? It's like a little keyboard that you blow into, and when you blow and you press the keys, it makes a noise. It's much smaller than a piano, and you can carry it around in your bag, and it's even got a case. And it's not as expensive as a piano. In fact, you could buy 1,000 of these for one piano. Well, let's go and have a look. So the mummy and daddy and the little girl went to the shop, and they looked all around, and they asked the man in the shop, "Do you have a melodeon?" And the shopkeeper said, "Sorry, we haven't sold them melodeons for about 5 years. Maybe try down the road." And so the little girl turned her mouth upside down and started to be sad, and a tear came out of her eye, rolled down her cheek, and dropped onto the floor. And the tear splashed, and it splashed, and the girl didn't see it, but the tear splashed onto the shelf, and it uncovered a magic melodeon. And as the girl was walking out the door, she saw in the mirror a little twinkle, and it was a melodeon. She turned around, she ran to the shelf, she grabbed it and said, "Hey mister, what's this?" The shopkeeper scratched his head and thought, I didn't know we had that. We haven't sold one of these for 5 years. Anyway, let's have a look. And he beeped it, and it was exactly £10. That's how much Daddy had in his pocket. So Daddy paid the man, and the girl put the harmonica on her shoulder and started to walk home. Well, they couldn't wait to get home, so they started to walk faster and faster and faster, and they didn't know why, but suddenly they were all running all the way home, and they opened the door and they sat down. And because Mummy could play the piano a little bit, she taught her daughter how to play the basic keys. And without even knowing how to play, the girl started to play. It was as if the melodeon was magic. Every time she put her hand near the keys, she knew exactly where to press and blow and play, and the most magical, wonderful, amazing music came out of this melodeon. Well, the next door neighbour heard it, and he came round, and the other side came round, and soon there was about 13 or 14 people looking over the wall through the window into the house, going, What is that magical sound? Within 20 minutes, there was about 50 people. And then when all the children came out of the school next door, there was like 500 people standing on the wall looking over at this little girl playing this beautiful music from her Melodeon. Well, that was so strange because Mummy and Daddy and the girl had not even noticed. And when they looked up after she stopped playing, they couldn't believe their eyes. There was like 500 people standing around the house, all cheering, going, "Yay! Encore, encore, one more time." Well, the girl played for another hour and a half and stopped, and the cheers were deafening. Daddy had to go outside and send them all home because it was dinner time and the girl was getting hungry. As they were eating dinner, the phone rang, and it was a music agent that said, "I would like your daughter to play at the festival tomorrow. She can be the first person on the stage." Where's the festival? It's in London, in the big city. There'll be 1 million people there. And so the next day, Mummy and Daddy and the daughter took the train down to London, and they went to the festival, and they got there a little bit early, and they got on the stage, and there was so many people there, it was unbelievable. The little girl sat on a stool, unpacked the Melodeon and put it on her knee, put the tube into her mouth, and all the people got the microphone and put it next to her, and she started to play, and 1 million people started to clap and jump and cheer, and it was the most wonderful thing. And the TV crew were there, and they showed it all around the world, and there was 100 million billion people watching it on telly all around the world, in all the countries like Germany and France and Korea and Africa and America and Canada and China and Brazil and Mexico and Vietnam and all over. And the girl suddenly became famous, world famous. She was the most admired Melodeon player. And then she traveled the world first class, and the aeroplane with the beds. She traveled around the world all the time, and she took her Mummy and Daddy because she was only like 8 years old. So her Mummy and Daddy spent several years travelling to all the countries around the world, and the girl played in front of millions and millions and millions, and probably 1 billion people with the harmonica, with the Melodeon. Anyway, that was the girl that got famous for playing the Melodeon. And do you know what? One day, Mummy and Daddy had another baby girl, and she became famous for playing the flute. And then they had a little boy, and he became famous for playing the guitar. And then, whilst they were doing this, Mummy and Daddy learned how to play the drums and the piano. And then they had a band. Mummy's on the piano, Daddy was on the guitar, and the children were all playing their instruments, and they became the most famous family band in the whole wide world. At that time, it was in the future, and the spacecrafts were taking people around the space, and not only were they most famous people in the world, they were the most famous people in the Milky Way and the solar system. And that was so unbelievable. They played the music in space. Anyway, thank you for listening. I love you guys. I hope you sleep well. Speak to you soon. Good night. The end.